A man takes toys to an orphanage and sees a girl who looks like his wife. In a small welcoming town where the sun seemed to shine more brightly on the colorful houses and manicured gardens, lived Roberto Mendez, a 35-year-old man known for his generosity and kind heart. With brown hair slightly graying at the temples and green eyes that reflected a compassionate soul, Roberto was a beloved figure in the community. He worked as an architect, designing not just buildings, but dreams and hopes for people. His wife Anna was an elegant and charismatic woman with long black hair and a smile that lit up any room. Together, they were a couple admired by everyone, always willing to help anyone in need. One fall morning, while the golden leaves danced in the wind, Roberto woke up with a strange feeling in his chest. It wasn't pain, but a kind of call, as if fate was whispering in his ear. He got up, looked out of his bedroom window, and saw the clouds moving slowly across the blue sky. "Anna, darling," he called softly, "I think today is the day." Anna, who was in the kitchen preparing breakfast, replied with curiosity, "Day for what, Roberto?" "Remember that idea I had a few weeks ago? About visiting the local orphanage? I feel today is the right time," Roberto explained, walking down the stairs and into the kitchen. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and toast filled the room, creating a cozy atmosphere. Anna smiled, her brown eyes shining with approval. "I think it's a wonderful idea, my love. Would you like me to go with you?" Roberto took a cup of coffee and gave Anna a gentle kiss on the cheek. "You don't have to, darling. I know you have that important meeting at the hospital today. I'm going alone this time, but I promise to tell you everything when I get back." After breakfast, Roberto got ready, wearing a light blue shirt and dark pants. He grabbed his car keys and set off, feeling the crisp autumn air on his face. The drive to the orphanage was short, but every turn seemed to reveal a new landscape, as if the city was presenting itself in a different way on that special day. The Guiding Star Orphanage was housed in an old but well-kept building with exposed brick walls and large windows. A small garden in front welcomed visitors with colorful flowers and an old but well-kept swing. Roberto parked the car and walked to the entrance, feeling his heart race with every step. When he rang the doorbell, he was greeted by a middle-aged woman with gray hair in a bun and a warm smile. "Good morning. I'm Mrs. Cecilia, the director of the orphanage. What can I do for you?" "Hello, Mrs. Cecilia. I'm Roberto Mendez. I've come for a visit, if possible. I'd like to get to know the orphanage and see how I can help," Roberto replied, holding out his hand to greet her. Cecilia led him inside, explaining how the orphanage worked, the children's needs and the challenges they faced. Roberto listened attentively, asking questions and observing every detail of the place. It was then, as he passed a living room, that his eyes caught sight of a girl sitting alone in a corner reading a book. She had curly brown hair and large, expressive eyes. Something about her caught Roberto's attention in a way he couldn't explain. "Who's that girl?" he asked Donna Cecilia, unable to look away. "Hello, Maria. My name is Roberto. What interesting book are you reading?" he asked, squatting down so that he was at her height. Maria hesitated for a moment, but something in Roberto's gentle smile made her feel at ease. "It's The Little Prince," she replied in a soft voice. "It's my favorite book." "Really, I love that book too," exclaimed Roberto, feeling an instant connection with the girl. "What's your favorite part?" Maria's eyes lit up. "I like the part where the little prince meets the fox and learns about friendship." Roberto smiled, feeling a strange familiarity in that look. "That's my favorite part too. You know, Maria, sometimes you find friends in the most unexpected places." They talked for a few minutes, and Roberto was impressed by the girl's intelligence and sensitivity. When he said goodbye, promising to come back to visit, he felt like he was leaving a part of himself behind. On the way home, Roberto couldn't get Maria out of his mind. There was something about her, an inexplicable connection that deeply intrigued him. He decided he needed to investigate further to understand why he felt such a strong bond with a child he had only just met. When he got home, he found Anna in the living room, working on some hospital reports. She was head nurse and always took work home. "How was your visit, darling?" asked Anna, taking off her glasses and smiling at her husband. Roberto sat down next to her on the sofa, still with the image of Maria vivid in his mind. "It was intense," he replied thoughtfully. I met a girl, Anna, a little girl called Maria, and I can't explain it, but I felt a very strong connection with her." Anna frowned, curious. "What do you mean, a connection?" "It's as if I knew her from somewhere, you know, like there's a bond between us," Roberto explained, running his hand through his hair, frustrated at not being able to express his feelings better. "That's interesting," commented Anna, placing her hand over her husband's. "Maybe it's a sign that we should help this girl in some way." Roberto nodded, but he knew there was something more. Over the next few days, he couldn't stop thinking about Maria. He returned to the orphanage several times, always bringing books and spending hours talking to the girl. With each visit, the feeling of familiarity grew. It was during one of these visits that Roberto noticed something that intrigued him. Maria had a small birthmark behind her left ear, very similar to the one Anna had. It ignited a spark of curiosity in Roberto, an idea that seemed absurd, but that wouldn't leave his head. Without telling anyone, not even Anna, Roberto decided to do a secret DNA test. He obtained a sample of Maria's hair during one of his visits and sent it for analysis along with a sample of his own. While waiting for the results, Roberto felt torn between anticipation and fear. Part of him wanted his suspicions to be confirmed, while the other part feared the consequences. Finally, after 2 weeks that seemed like an eternity, the envelope with the results arrived. Roberto opened it with trembling hands, his heart beating so hard it felt like it was going to burst out of his chest. The words on the paper hit him like a punch. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. Roberto felt the world spin around him. Maria was his daughter, his biological daughter. But how was that possible? He and Anna had never had a daughter, or had they? With his mind in turmoil, Roberto realized that he needed to confront Anna. He waited until the evening when she came home from work. Anna entered the house tired after a long day at the hospital and found Roberto sitting in the living room with a serious expression she rarely saw. "Roberto, what's wrong?" she asked, worried. He looked up, a mixture of confusion and pain in his eyes. "Anna, we need to talk. It's about Maria." Anna sat down, feeling the tension in the air. "The girl from the orphanage, what about her?" Roberto took a deep breath, gathering his courage for the words that would come next. "Anna, I did a DNA test. Maria is my biological daughter." The silence that followed was deafening. Anna went pale, her eyes wide with shock. "What? That's impossible, Roberto. We've never had a daughter." I know, he replied, running his hands over his face. "But the test doesn't lie, Anna. And there's more. Maria has a birthmark just like yours behind her left ear." Anna stood up abruptly, pacing back and forth in the room. No, that can't be true. I've never had a child out of wedlock, Roberto. You know that." Roberto watched her, trying to decipher her reactions. "Anna, look me in the eye and tell me the truth. Did you have a daughter and give her up for adoption without telling me?" Anna's eyes filled with tears. "No, of course not. How could you think that of me?" Seeing the genuine despair in his wife's eyes, Roberto felt a wave of guilt. "I'm sorry, Anna, I don't know what to think. It's all so confusing." Anna sat down again, trying to calm down. "Roberto, there must be some mistake. Maybe the test is wrong, or maybe there's another explanation that we're not seeing." Roberto nodded slowly. "You're right. We can't jump to conclusions. We need to investigate further." That night, the couple barely slept. They were both immersed in thought, trying to find an explanation for the inexplicable. The next morning, they decided to carry out more DNA tests, this time including Anna. The next few days were tense. Roberto and Anna could barely concentrate on their daily routines, the anxiety over the results of the new tests consuming their thoughts. Roberto continued to visit Maria at the orphanage, now seeing her with different eyes, looking for similarities, trying to imagine what it would be like if she really were his daughter. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the results arrived. Roberto and Anna sat down together to open the envelope, their hands intertwined in search of mutual strength. What they read left them speechless. Maria was their biological daughter. How is this possible?" whispered Anna, tears streaming freely down her face. Roberto, equally shocked, hugged his wife. "I don't know, my love, but we'll find out." Together, determined to unravel the mystery, Roberto and Anna began a thorough investigation. They began by reviewing all of Anna's medical records, looking for any sign of a pregnancy that might have gone unnoticed. It was during this search that they found something strange. In the records of the hospital where Anna gave birth to her first daughter, there was a confusing note about a complication during childbirth. Roberto and Anna vaguely remembered this moment, but the memory was hazy, overshadowed by the pain of losing their baby, who died shortly after birth due to heart problems. Intrigued by this discovery, the couple decided to visit the hospital. There, after much insistence and with the help of a lawyer, they gained access to more detailed records from that time. What they discovered stunned them. There had been a catastrophic error at the hospital that night. Maria, their real daughter, had been switched at birth with the daughter of a young couple. The other couple's baby, mistakenly identified as Roberto and Anna's daughter, was the one who died due to health complications. "My God!" exclaimed Anna, covering her mouth with her hands. Our daughter is alive." Roberto, feeling a mixture of joy and anger, hugged Anna tightly. "How could this happen? How could you make such a serious mistake?" The investigation revealed that the young couple, on discovering that their supposed daughter had serious health problems, panicked. Young and without financial resources, they decided to put the baby up for adoption, unable to cope with the medical and emotional costs of caring for a child with special needs. Maria ended up being taken to the orphanage, where she grew up without ever knowing her true origin. Roberto and Anna were devastated and ecstatic at the same time. Their daughter, whom they thought they had lost so long ago, was alive. But the time they had lost, the years they hadn't been able to be by her side, weighed heavily on their hearts. "What do we do now?" asked Anna, her voice trembling with emotion. Roberto held his wife's hands, looking into her eyes with determination. "Let's bring our daughter home, Anna. Let's give her the family she should always have had." In the days that followed, Roberto and Anna worked tirelessly to start the process of adopting Maria. At the same time, they searched for the young couple who had inadvertently raised their biological daughter for a brief period. Meeting Lucas and Mariana, the young couple, was an emotionally intense experience for everyone involved. The meeting took place in a quiet cafe in the city center, chosen for its neutral and welcoming atmosphere. Lucas and Mariana arrived first, visibly nervous. He, a man of medium height with dark hair and restless eyes, held tightly onto Mariana's hand, a delicate woman with blonde hair and blue eyes full of apprehension. When Roberto and Anna entered, there was a moment of tense silence. The four of them stared at each other, years of unshared stories hanging between them like an invisible veil. It was Anna who took the first step, extending her hand with a shaky smile. "Hello, I'm Anna. This is my husband Roberto." Mariana was the first to react, shaking Anna's hand with tears in her eyes. "I'm Mariana, and this is Lucas. We didn't know. I swear we didn't know." Roberto, sensing the tension in the air, suggested that they all sit down. They ordered coffee, more to have something to do with their hands than out of any real thirst. "We understand that you were unaware of the situation," Roberto began, his voice calm but charged with emotion. "We're here to understand, not to judge." Lucas, who had remained silent until then, finally spoke. "When we were told that our baby had serious health problems, we panicked. We were so young, so unprepared," Mariana continued, her voice breaking. "We thought we wouldn't be able to take care of her. The decision to put her up for adoption was the hardest of our lives." Anna reached across the table, gently touching Mariana's arm. "You did what you thought was best at the time. No one can judge you for that." The conversation flowed, full of tears, explanations, and apologies. Roberto and Anna talked about how they discovered the truth, about their visits to Maria at the orphanage, about the inexplicable connection they felt from their first meeting. Lucas and Mariana listened attentively, their faces a mixture of relief and pain. Relief at knowing that the child they thought they had abandoned was alive and well. Pain at all the circumstances that had led them to this moment. "What do you intend to do now?" asked Lucas, his voice filled with concern. Roberto took a deep breath before answering. "We want to bring Maria home. give her the family she should always have had, but we want you to be part of her life too," Anna added, surprising everyone at the table. "You're part of her story, part of what brought her to us. We don't want to exclude you." Mariana covered her face with her hands, sobbing silently. Lucas hugged her, looking at Roberto and Anna with gratitude. Would you do that?" "Yes," Roberto replied firmly. "Maria deserves to know her whole story, all the people who in one way or another loved and cared for her." The conversation went on for hours, the four adults discussing how they could make this transition as smooth as possible for Maria. They decided that Roberto and Anna would start the adoption process, but that Lucas and Mariana would be introduced to Maria gradually, as friends of the family. In the months that followed, the lives of everyone involved underwent a profound transformation. Roberto and Anna, with the help of an adoption lawyer, began the legal process to bring Maria home. Visits to the orphanage became more frequent, and gradually they began to tell the girl the truth. Maria, initially confused and a little frightened by the idea of having a real family, gradually opened up to the unconditional love that Roberto and Anna offered. The transition was gradual, with supervised visits, weekend outings, and finally, the definitive move to the Mendez home. The day Maria finally arrived to live with them was full of emotions. The house had been carefully prepared, with a special room decorated in the girls' favorite colors. Roberto and Anna were nervous, anxious to get everything right. When Maria walked through the front door, carrying a small suitcase with her belongings, her eyes shone with anticipation and a little fear. "Welcome to your new home, darling," said Anna, kneeling down so that she was at the girl's height. Maria looked around, her eyes stopping on a picture frame on the living room shelf. It was a photo of Roberto and Anna on their wedding day. Are you really my parents?" she asked, her voice small and hesitant. Roberto crouched down next to Anna, his eyes watering. "Yes, Maria, we are your parents." "Yeah, we are. And we're so happy to finally have you home." Maria dropped her suitcase and on an impulse hugged them both. Roberto and Anna wrapped her in their arms, tears flowing freely. It was the start of a new life for all of them. The first few days were an adjustment. Maria was used to the routine of the orphanage, and it took her a while to adjust to life in a family home. Roberto and Anna, on the other hand, were learning to be parents of an 8-year-old, balancing love and limits, affection and discipline. Little by little, a routine was established. Maria was enrolled in a local school, made new friends, and began to open up more. Roberto and Anna watched in amazement as their daughter's personality blossomed, revealing a girl who was intelligent, creative, and full of life. It was during this period of adaptation that Roberto and Anna decided it was time to introduce Lucas and Mariana to Maria. They carefully explained to the little girl about the mistake at the hospital and how Lucas and Mariana had been part of her story. They're my parents too?" asked Maria, confused. Anna smiled gently. "No, dear, we are your parents. But Lucas and Mariana are very special people who care a lot about you. They're like very dear uncles." The meeting was emotional for everyone. Maria, initially shy, was soon charmed by Mariana's kindness and Lucas's humor. To everyone's surprise and delight, the little girl spontaneously hugged them both at the end of the visit. "Thank you for taking care of me when I was a baby," she said, with a wisdom beyond her years. Mariana couldn't hold back her tears, and Lucas had to turn away to hide the emotion in his eyes. As the months passed, the Mendez family's life adjusted to the new reality. Roberto and Anna, inspired by their experience, began working to improve the adoption system. They organized awareness events, raised funds for the orphanage, and even began to influence public policies related to adoption and the care of orphaned children. Maria, for her part, flourished in her new environment. Her passion for reading, nurtured since her days at the orphanage, expanded into other areas. She discovered a talent for painting, and her work soon decorated the walls of the Mendez home. One day, during a routine visit to the doctor, Roberto and Anna received some surprising news. While reviewing Maria's medical history, the doctor noticed something unusual. "Did you know that Maria is a twin?" asked the doctor, looking over his glasses. Roberto and Anna looked at each other, shocked. "What do you mean, a twin?" asked Anna, her voice trembling. The doctor explained that there were clear indications in the records that Maria had been born with a twin sister. However, due to the error at the hospital and the confusion that followed, this fact had gone unnoticed. This revelation triggered a new investigation. Roberto and Anna, with the help of Lucas and Mariana, began searching for information about the possible whereabouts of Maria's twin sister. After weeks of intense searching, they finally got a lead. Sophia, Maria's twin sister, had been adopted by a family living in a neighboring town. The process of contacting Sophia's family was delicate. At first, Sophia's adoptive parents were apprehensive, fearing they would lose the daughter they had raised with so much love. However, after long talks and with the help of a mediator, all parties agreed that the most important thing was the girl's well-being. The day Maria and Sophia met was emotional. The two girls, identical in appearance but with different personalities, looked at each other with a mixture of curiosity and instinctive recognition. "Hi," said Maria shyly. "I'm Maria." Sophia smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Hi, I'm Sophia. I think we're sisters." The two hugged spontaneously, to the excitement of all the adults present. From that moment on, the two families decided to keep in regular contact, allowing Maria and Sophia to develop a relationship like sisters, even though they lived in separate houses. The months that followed were ones of adjustment and discovery for everyone. Roberto and Anna worked hard to strengthen their own relationship through couples therapy, recognizing that the whole journey had brought up issues that needed to be addressed. Maria, for her part, blossomed even more with the presence of Sophia in her life. The two girls, although raised in different environments, discovered that they shared many tastes and personality traits. The Mendez family, now expanded to include Lucas, Mariana, Sophia, and their adoptive parents, faced the challenges and joys of this new reality together. They organized regular family reunions, celebrated birthdays and holidays together, creating new traditions that honored their family's unique history. Roberto and Anna continued their work to raise awareness about adoption and children's rights. Their personal experiences made them powerful spokespeople for the cause, and little by little, they began to see positive changes in adoption policies and practices in their region. Maria, now 10, looked out of her bedroom window, watching the stars in the night sky. She held in her hands the old copy of The Little Prince that had accompanied her from the orphanage. Roberto quietly entered the room and sat down next to his daughter. "What are you thinking about, my love?" Maria smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "I'm thinking about how funny life is, Dad. You know, in the book, the little prince travels through several planets before finding the one that really matters. I think that's how it was with us too." Roberto hugged his daughter, feeling his heart overflow with love. "You're right, Maria. Sometimes we need to take a long journey to find our true home." At that moment, with Maria in his arms and Anna entering the room to join in the embrace, Roberto felt that they had finally reached their destination. The Mendez family, with all its complexities and challenges, was united and strengthened by their experiences. Don't worry, the story isn't over yet. If you've watched this far, it's because you're enjoying it, so consider subscribing and commenting from where you watch this video, going back to the story. The years passed and the Mendez family continued to grow and strengthen. Maria and Sophia, now teenagers, have developed a deep bond, making up for lost years with an unshakable friendship. They became not just sisters, but best friends, sharing secrets, dreams, and the challenges of adolescence. Roberto and Anna, inspired by their journey, decided to expand their efforts to help other families in similar situations. They founded a non-profit organization dedicated to reuniting families separated by medical errors or circumstances beyond their control. Their work began to gain national recognition, and soon they were traveling the country, sharing their story and helping others find hope in difficult situations. Lucas and Mariana, who initially feared that their role in Maria's life would diminish, discovered that love has a way of multiplying, not dividing. They became an integral part of the extended family, present at all the important moments and offering additional support that enriched everyone's lives. One day, when Maria turned 16, the family organized a big celebration. It was more than just a birthday. It was a celebration of her journey. of all the obstacles she had overcome and of the love that united them. During the party, Maria asked for a moment to speak. Standing in front of her family and friends, she looked at each face with love and gratitude. "When I was little," she began, her voice trembling slightly with emotion, "I used to dream of a family. In the orphanage, I imagined what it would be like to have parents, siblings, a place to call home. But the reality I've found is more incredible than anything I could have dreamed of." She paused, looking at Roberto and Anna. "Mom, Dad, you taught me what unconditional love is. You showed me that family isn't just about blood, but about choice, about fighting for what's right, even when it's hard." His eyes turned to Lucas and Mariana. "Uncle Lucas, Aunt Mariana, you taught me about forgiveness and how love can overcome any obstacle. Your presence in my life is a gift for which I will be eternally grateful." Finally, she looked at Sophia, who was standing next to her. "Sophia, my sister, my best friend. Finding you was like finding a part of me that I didn't even know was missing. You complete not just my story, but our family story." Maria took a deep breath, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "This family, with all its complexities and challenges, is the greatest gift I could have received. Each and every one of you has contributed to making me who I am today, and I promise that I will do my best to honor the love and sacrifices of all of you." There wasn't a dry eye in the room when Maria finished her speech. Roberto and Anna hugged their daughter, followed by Sophia, Lucas, and Mariana, forming a big group hug that symbolized the unity of this very special family. The celebration continued well into the night, full of laughter, music, and shared stories. It was a living testimony to how love can overcome even the most unlikely circumstances. In the years that followed, the Mendez family continued to grow and evolve. Maria and Sophia, inspired by their parents' work, decided to pursue careers that would allow them to help other people. Maria chose to study law, with the aim of specializing in children's rights and adoption legislation. Sophia, on the other hand, chose psychology, wanting to work with children and families who had been through traumatic experiences. Roberto and Anna, seeing their daughters follow such noble paths, felt immense pride. They continued their work with the organization they had founded, expanding its reach and impact. Over time, they were able to influence significant changes in adoption policies and hospital protocols, ensuring that mistakes like the one that affected their family became increasingly rare. Lucas and Mariana, inspired by the Mendez family's journey, decided to become adoptive parents. Their experience made them especially empathetic and prepared to deal with the challenges of adoption. With the support of Roberto and Anna, they adopted 2 siblings, expanding the family's circle of love even further. One day, when Maria was in her final year of law school, she received an unexpected call. It was from a young mother who had found the Mendez organization online and was desperate for help. She had given birth to twins prematurely, and due to medical complications and financial difficulties, was considering putting them up for adoption. Maria, remembering her own story, felt an immediate connection to the situation. She immediately contacted her parents, and together they decided to help the young mother. In the months that followed, the Mendez family mobilized to offer support to the young mother and her babies. Roberto and Anna used their contacts to ensure the best possible medical care. Maria worked tirelessly to navigate the legal aspects of the situation, ensuring that the rights of the mother and children were protected. Sophia offered psychological support, helping the young mother deal with the emotional stress of the situation. With time and the right support, the young mother was able to overcome the initial difficulties and decided to raise her children. The experience was deeply impactful for the entire Mendez family, reminding them once again of the power of love, compassion, and community. For Maria, this experience solidified her determination to use her legal education to make a difference in the lives of families and children in vulnerable situations. She began working on a bill aimed at improving the support offered to single mothers and families at risk. Sophia, inspired by the resilience she witnessed, decided to focus her career on family therapy, specializing in adoption and family reunification cases. Roberto and Anna, seeing the impact their daughters were having, felt that their legacy was safe in the hands of the next generation. They began to think about gradually retiring from their active roles in the organization, confident that Maria and Sofia were ready to take the lead. One quiet evening, years later, the Mendez family gathered for a special dinner. Roberto, now with completely grey hair, looked around the table with eyes full of love and pride. There was Ana, his pillar of strength for so many years. Maria and Sofia, the daughters who had brought so much joy and purpose to his life. Lucas and Mariana with their adopted children, and even the young mother they had helped years ago, now a close family friend, with her teenage twins. Roberto stood up, raising his glass for a toast. "To family," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "Not just to our family by blood, but to the family we chose, to the family we built through love, compassion, and perseverance. Each of you is a living testimony that love can overcome any obstacle, heal any wound, and create beauty even in the most unlikely circumstances." Everyone raised their cups, their eyes shining with tears of joy and gratitude. At that moment, each person around the table felt the weight and beauty of their shared journey. Maria, looking at the beloved faces around her, thought about how her life had changed since those lonely days in the orphanage. She remembered the book she loved so much, The Little Prince, and one sentence in particular that now made more sense than ever. "You become eternally responsible for what you capture." She understood that each person at that table had been captivated by love, becoming responsible for each other in a profound and eternal way. It was a bond that transcended blood, a bond forged through choices, sacrifices, and unconditional love. As the evening progressed, filled with laughter, stories, and plans for the future, it became clear that the Mendez family's story was far from over. It was a story in constant evolution, a rich and complex tapestry woven with threads of love, loss, redemption, and hope. And so, under the starry sky that shone through the dining room window, the Mendez family continued their journey. A journey that had begun with a tragic mistake in a hospital, but which turned into a saga of love, forgiveness, and growth. A journey that proved once again that the true meaning of family goes far beyond blood ties. It's about choice, commitment, and a love that overcomes all barriers. As the stars shone outside, echoing the light in each family member's eyes, it became clear that this wasn't just the story of Roberto, Ana, Maria, and Sofia. It was the story of how love can transform lives, unite hearts, and create miracles. It was a story that would continue to inspire and touch lives for generations to come. A living testimony to the transformative power of unconditional love and the indomitable strength of the human spirit. And so, with full hearts and renewed hope, the Mendez family looked to the future, ready to face any challenge that came their way, knowing that together, united by love, they could overcome any obstacle. For they had learned the most valuable lesson of all, that love, in all its forms, is the most powerful force in the universe, capable of healing, uniting, and creating beauty, even in the most unlikely circumstances. As the night progressed and the moon rose in the sky, gently illuminating the room through the windows, the conversation around the Mendez family's dining table continued to be lively. Stories were shared, laughter echoed, and plans for the future were enthusiastically discussed. Maria, watching the scene with a smile on her lips, couldn't help thinking about how her life had changed. She remembered the lonely girl she used to be, sitting in a corner of the orphanage, dreaming of a family. Now she was surrounded not only by a family, but by a network of love that extended far beyond blood ties. Sofia, noticing her sister's distant gaze, leaned over and whispered, "What are you thinking about?" Maria smiled, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. "I'm thinking about how blessed we are," she replied. "Look at us, Sofia. Look at this family we've built. It's more than I could ever have dreamed of." Sofia nodded, squeezing her sister's hand under the table. "It's true. You know, sometimes I wonder what our lives would have been like if we hadn't been separated at birth. But then, I think of all the wonderful people who are part of our lives now, and I can't imagine it any other way." The two sisters exchanged a look of mutual understanding. They had lost years together, it's true, but what they had gained in return, an expanded family, a unique perspective on love and life, a shared passion for helping others, was priceless. Roberto, noticing the intimate moment between his daughters, felt his heart fill with pride and gratitude. He remembered the day he visited the orphanage for the first time, the instant connection he felt with Maria. At the time, he didn't understand what that feeling meant. Now, looking at his reunited family, he understood perfectly. Anna, sitting next to her husband, placed her hand on his. She didn't need words to understand what he was feeling. After so many years together, facing challenges that would have destroyed many marriages, they had developed an almost telepathic understanding of each other. Lucas and Mariana, on the other side of the table, watched the scene with their own hearts full of gratitude. They had feared at first that their role in Maria's life would diminish over time. Instead, they discovered that there was enough room in their hearts to love not only Maria, but the entire Mendez family, as well as their own adopted children. The young mother the family had helped years ago, now a close friend, watched her teenage twins interact with Lucas and Mariana's foster children. She couldn't help thinking how different her life might have been if she hadn't found the support of the Mendez family in her time of need. As the evening progressed, the conversation naturally turned to the future. Maria talked about her plans to expand the work of the organization founded by her parents, focusing especially on improving policies to support single mothers and families at risk. Sophia shared her ideas for a new family therapy program specializing in adoption and reunification cases, inspired by her own experience and the stories she had heard over the years. Roberto and Anna listened with pride, seeing how the work they had started was flourishing in the hands of the next generation. They exchanged a look, silently agreeing that it was time to pass the baton. "Children," Roberto began, his voice attracting the attention of everyone around the table. "Your mother and I have something to share with you." Anna smiled, encouraging her husband to continue. "After much thought and discussion," Roberto continued, "we have decided that it is time to retire from active leadership of the organization. We believe it's time to pass the baton to the next generation, to you." A surprised silence fell over the table. Maria and Sophia looked at each other, a mixture of emotions flashing across their faces. "Dad, Mom," Maria began, her voice shaking with emotion. "Are you sure? The organization is your life's work." Anna smiled gently. "And that's why we know it's in good hands. You've both grown up with this mission. You've lived it in a way that no one else could. We're confident that you'll take this work to new heights." Sophia, always the more emotional of the two, couldn't hold back her tears. "It's a huge honor," she said. "I promise we'll do our best to honor your legacy." Lucas raised his glass. "A toast," he proposed, "to the passing of the baton, to the continuation of a legacy of love and compassion." Everyone raised their glasses, the clink of the glass echoing around the room. At that moment, every person around the table felt the weight and beauty of that transition. It wasn't just a change of leadership in an organization, it was the continuation of a mission that had transformed so many lives, including their own. As the evening drew to a close and the guests began to say goodbye, Maria found herself alone for a moment on the balcony, looking up at the stars. Roberto joined her, putting an arm around his daughter's shoulders. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. Maria nodded, leaning back against her father. "I am. It's just, it all seems so surreal sometimes, you know? If someone had told me that day we met at the orphanage that this would be my future, I would never have believed it." Roberto smiled, his eyes reflecting the stars. "Life has a funny way of surprising us, doesn't it? But you know what, Maria? From the moment I saw you in that living room at the orphanage, holding that old book, I knew you were special. I knew you would change our lives." Maria turned to look at her father, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "You changed my life too, Dad. You gave me a home, a family, a purpose." There aren't enough words to express how grateful I am. Father and daughter stood there for a moment, embracing, looking up at the starry sky. It was a moment of stillness, of reflection, a moment to appreciate the miracle that their lives had become. From inside the house, the sound of laughter and conversation flowed through the night, a constant reminder of the love and joy that filled their lives. Maria smiled, thinking of how that sound, the sound of a happy family, was something she had longed for as a child. "Shall we go in?" asked Roberto gently. "Your mother is probably wondering where we are." Maria nodded, casting one last glance at the starry sky before following her father back into the house. In the living room, the family was still together. Anna was sitting on the sofa, with Sophia by her side, the two of them chatting animatedly about the future plans for the organization. Lucas and Mariana were helping their adopted children pack their coats, getting ready to leave. The young mother they had helped years ago was saying goodbye, thanking them once again for all the support she had received. When Maria and Roberto entered, all eyes turned to them. There was a palpable feeling of love and togetherness in the air, as if everyone could feel the weight of the moment. Anna stood up and walked over to her husband and daughter. "Is everything all right?" she asked, noticing Maria's watery eyes. Maria smiled and hugged her mother. "Everything's perfect, Mom. I was just thinking about how blessed we are." Sophia joined in the hug, and soon the whole family was gathered in a big group hug. It was a moment that perfectly captured the essence of what they had become, a family united not just by blood, but by love, choice, and a shared story of overcoming. When they finally separated, Roberto cleared his throat, attracting everyone's attention. "Before we call it a night," he began, "I'd like to propose something. Maria, Sophia, with the baton of the organization passing to you, I thought perhaps we could do something special to mark this new phase." The sisters exchanged curious glances as Roberto continued. "How about a family trip? We could visit the orphanage where it all began, see how things have changed there. Maybe even meet some of the children you knew, see how their lives turned out." Maria's eyes lit up at the idea. "Dad, that would be amazing. We could use the trip to assess the orphanage's current needs, maybe plan new projects to help them." Sophia nodded enthusiastically. "And we could organize a sort of reunion for former residents of the orphanage. It would be a great opportunity to see the long-term impact of the work you've started." Anna smiled, proud to see how her daughters immediately thought of ways to turn the trip into something meaningful. "I think it's a wonderful idea," she said. "We could invite Lucas, Mariana, and the children too. After all, they're as much a part of this story as we are." Lucas and Mariana, who were listening to the conversation, exchanged looks of surprise and gratitude. "We would be honored to participate," said Lucas, his voice laced with emotion. While the family continued to discuss the details of the trip, Maria stepped away for a moment, going over to the bookshelf where the old copy of The Little Prince that had accompanied her since the orphanage stood. She picked up the book, caressing the worn cover with affection. Sophia noticed her sister's gesture and came closer. "I still can't believe you've kept that book all these years," she commented. Maria smiled, opening the book to a marked page. "You know, there's a sentence in here that has always touched me deeply. It says, 'It was the time you devoted to your rose that made it so important.' I think that's what our family has done, Sophia. We devoted time to each other, we cared for each other, we chose each other, and that made us so important to each other." Sophia hugged her sister, both feeling the weight and beauty of that moment. "You're right," she said softly. "And now we have the chance to dedicate that time to other people, to help other roses bloom." The sisters stood there for a moment, hugging each other, the old book between them as a symbol of their journey. From where they were, they could see the rest of the family still talking animatedly about the planned trip, about the new projects, about the future. In that instant, Maria felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. She understood that her story, her family's story, wasn't just about overcoming adversity or finding a happy ending. It was about creating a legacy of love, compassion, and hope that would continue to impact lives far beyond her own. As the clock on the wall ticked away, the Mendez family continued their conversation, planning not just a trip, but the next chapter of their lives. A chapter that promised to be as rich, challenging, and rewarding as the previous ones. And so, on that night full of emotions, memories, and dreams for the future, the story of the Mendez family continued to unfold. A story of love, loss, redemption, and above all, of how the power of love and compassion can transform lives in ways we can't even imagine. As the evening progressed and the last guests said goodbye, the Mendez house fell silent. Roberto and Anna, sitting on the sofa in the living room, watched as their daughters tidied up the last vestiges of the family gathering. "Look at them," Anna whispered to Roberto, her eyes shining with pride. Who knew that visit to the orphanage would lead us here? Roberto smiled, squeezing his wife's hand. It's incredible, isn't it? Sometimes I wonder if it was fate or just a series of coincidences that brought us to this moment. Maria, overhearing her parents' conversation, approached with a smile. I think it was a bit of both, she said, taking a seat next to them. Fate put us on the right path, but it was our choices that brought us here. Sophia joined them, carrying a tray with cups of tea. And what choices, eh? She commented, handing out the cups. Every decision we've made, every obstacle we've overcome has brought us closer to each other. The family was silent for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. It was Roberto who finally broke the silence. You know, he began, his voice heavy with emotion, when I think about everything we've been through, I can't help but feel grateful. Grateful for the challenges, the difficulties, because they're what made us who we are today. Anna nodded, tears shining in her eyes. Every difficult moment has taught us something. It taught us about strength, about perseverance, about the power of love. Maria took Sophia's hand, the two sisters exchanging a look of mutual understanding. And he taught us about family, Maria added. He showed us that family isn't just about blood, but about choice, about unconditional love. About forgiveness too, said Sophia softly. About accepting each other's imperfections and loving in spite of them. Or maybe because of them. Roberto looked at his daughters with pride. You've both grown up to be incredible women, so wise, so compassionate. We couldn't be prouder. It's true, agreed Anna. And now, with you taking over the leadership of the organization, I feel like we're entering an exciting new chapter in our lives. Maria smiled, her eyes shining with determination. I promise that we will do our best to honor your legacy, to continue the incredible work you started. And to expand, Sophia added, to reach even more people, to make a difference in even more lives. Roberto raised his teacup in an impromptu toast. To the Mendez family, he said, to the past that has brought us this far, to the present we share, and to the future we will build together. To the Mendez family, they all echoed, their cups clinking softly. As they sipped their tea, the conversation flowed naturally to the plans for the trip to the orphanage. They discussed ideas for new projects, ways to improve conditions there, ways to help more children find loving families. As the evening progressed, Maria found herself looking out of the window, watching the stars in the night sky. She thought about the long journey that had brought her there, from the lonely nights in the orphanage to the joyful moments with her found family. She thought about the children who were still waiting for a home, the families that could be united, the lives that could be changed. And at that moment, under the starry sky with the love of her family around her, Maria felt a deep sense of purpose. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, that there would be challenges and obstacles to overcome. But she also knew that, with her family by her side, there was nothing they couldn't face. The Mendez family's story was far from over. In fact, it seemed that a new chapter, full of promise and possibilities, was just beginning, and Maria couldn't wait to see what the future had in store for them. As the night turned into dawn, the Mendez family finally said goodbye, each retiring to their rooms. Maria, however, stayed awake a little longer, sitting at the desk in her room, a blank sheet of paper in front of her. With a pen in her hand, she began to write. Dear Diary, today was a day I will never forget, a day that marked not only the end of a chapter in our lives, but the beginning of something new and exciting. When I think of everything we've been through, the years of loneliness in the orphanage, the surprising discovery of my true family, the challenges we've faced together, I feel my heart overflowing with gratitude. Gratitude for Roberto and Anna, who not only gave me a home, but showed me the true meaning of unconditional love. Gratitude for Sophia, my twin sister, whose existence filled a void in me that I didn't even know existed. Gratitude for Lucas and Mariana, who loved me when they had no obligation to do so. But above all, I am grateful for the path that has brought us this far. Every challenge, every obstacle, every moment of doubt has made us stronger, more united. Now, with Sophia and I taking on the leadership of the organization, I feel the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of possibilities. How many lives can we touch? How many families can we help reunite? Tomorrow we'll start planning our trip back to the orphanage. I can't wait to see how things have changed there, to meet some of the children I met, to see how their lives have turned out. But more than that, I can't wait to start this new chapter in our lives, to continue the incredible work my parents started, to expand its reach to make a difference in ways they may not have imagined. I know the road ahead won't be easy. There will be challenges, obstacles, moments of doubt. But I also know that, with my family by my side, there's nothing we can't overcome. Our story, the story of the Mendez family, is living proof of the power of love, compassion, and perseverance. It's a story that will continue to unfold, to evolve, to touch lives. And I'm just grateful to be a part of it. With love and hope for the future, Maria Mendez. Maria put the pen away, rereading her words with a smile on her lips. She closed the diary, placing it carefully in the desk drawer. Getting up, she walked over to the window, looking out at the starry sky once more. The future stretched out before her, full of promise and possibility. And Maria knew that no matter what came, she would face it all with love, courage, and the strength of her family by her side. With one last look at the stars, Maria headed for bed, her heart full of peace and anticipation for what tomorrow would bring. The Mendez family's story continued, and she couldn't wait to see the next chapter unfold. And so, as night gave way to dawn, a new page was about to be turned in the Mendez family's extraordinary journey. A journey of love, forgiveness, redemption, and above all, of the incredible capacity of the human heart to expand, love, and transform lives.